Thanks for coming out to Pitch Day for 100K. You guys know it's always a great day to pitch. I love Pitch Day. And today we're going to be hearing from Justin at SpaceTogether. And congratulations, guys, on making it through the flanks to get here today. About 15 or 20 companies come and ask us to pitch for every one that gets to in front of the audience here. So good job for getting here. StartUpNV is Nevada's statewide nonprofit startup accelerator and incubator. We operate 3 for-profit programs for investors and 4 for-profit investment funds. The nonprofits for the entrepreneurs for the founders, and the for-profit are for the investors. Our nonprofit operation is supported by grants and sponsors in the near term, and over the long term by participating accelerator companies who pledge a small amount of equity to the nonprofit, and we hope that's going to be worth a lot of money at some point in the future. And then we won't have to ask for grants and donors and everything else anymore. So we run Pitch Day for 100K every other Wednesday, where companies pitch for the Q&A that comes with it, along with entry into our accelerator program, and that comes with an investment from our pre-seed fund, FundNV. And that's added to by our LPs, additional investors. And the average amount over the past 18 months or so for getting in has been about $124,000, not just the 50 that we put in. And right now, for 2022, 2023, and 2024, there's a matching amount that comes from the Governor's Office of Economic Development through the SSBCI program. So whatever you get from us, you'll get a matching amount on the same terms from GoEd. Unless, of course, the founders, you guys, if you don't want it, then you don't have to take it, but most founders do. So we've made 16 direct investments in 2021 and 2022. They range from $50,000 to $1.3 million. And now for the legal disclaimer for everybody in the room and everybody online. The founders pitching today are pitching to our SEC-approved venture capital funds and the accredited investor network that we operate. The pitches are directed to those investors, but the entire community is encouraged to come and participate and listen in. Kind of like Shark Tank. Its educational component is critical to our mission of growing Nevada's startup ecosystem and diversifying our economy. So once again, the pitches today are not a general solicitation for investment from the general public. They are pitching to us, our funds, our accredited investors here. So the nonprofit work with entrepreneurs, along with all people interested in startups and investing, couldn't be possible without financial help from our sponsors and supporters. The City of Las Vegas, the Nevada Governor's Office of Economic Development, or GoEd, as we like to call them, Eide Bailey, and KPMG. If you are someone or know someone who would like to help financially support the nonprofit, either through cash donations or through services, I'd love to hear from them. Please introduce me.
Well, thanks so much, everybody. My name is Justin Knapp, and I'm the CEO and founder of SpaceTogether. SpaceTogether's online marketplace empowers churches, schools, and businesses to monetize and rent the unutilized parts of their buildings, including commercial kitchens, gymnasiums, meeting spaces, and parking lots. SpaceTogether matches underutilized spaces to the needs of communities based on functionality, availability, budget, and location. So how did we get into this? My wife and I pastored a church, and we needed space. We'd been renting from my mentor for the previous 6 years, and we'd outgrown the ability to do that. So he came to me one day and he told me that I had 3 months to get out of his building. Immediately, I knew that I did not want my own building. I had been sharing space with him for the previous 6 years, and I'd already gone through 2 building projects with him. So I knew that it was going to be a bunch of realtors that did not want to work with us. It was going to be a bunch of B and C class real estate in terrible parts of town. If we did find a building that worked for us, we were going to have to sign a huge personally guaranteed lease that escalated in price over time, probably on a building that was not designed for what we were trying to do. So then we'd have to raise money to remodel the building. And then after we did all that, I knew that we would never be there because I had already gone through this 2 times. And so just like a good millennial, I looked for the commercial Airbnb. And so I don't even own a laptop at the time. I pull out my preaching iPad and I'm 35 pages deep in Google searches trying to find the commercial Airbnb. And I couldn't find it. I found all kinds of ways to share an office or a one-time event center or rent out a warehouse, but there was no way for me to partner with people in my local community, plant roots, and grow my organization. So I had to go the traditional route, and it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. Realtors were laughing at us, hanging up on us. I was only 26, so I didn't have a ton of credit history at the time. We went and saw a bunch of buildings in terrible parts of town that were certainly B and C class real estate. They weren't designed for what we were trying to do. And then after we had finally found a building that we thought would work for us, we signed this huge personally guaranteed lease that escalated in price over time. And we raised a ton of money to remodel a building with a bunch of people that had never remodeled buildings. And after we had gone through all of that, we were never there. 2 services, band practice, youth group, and the rest of the time, this building that was 90% of my budget and all of my stress was a really expensive storage unit. And so that's when we said, like, there's got to be some way of sharing this building. So again, I pull out the iPad and I'm 30 pages deep trying to find again, where is the commercial Airbnb? And again, I couldn't find it. So my wife and I took our cell phones and Craigslist and we started posting the availability and amenities of our building to our local community. And I'm sure as I say that, all the sketchy bells are going off in your head, and they should, because Craigslist is massively sketchy. But within 3 months, we figured out how to vet people. We figured out what kind of agreements to get with people, how to identify a good tenant from a bad tenant. And within 3 months, we had 65% of our overhead covered by people using our facility when we weren't there. And that's when we said, again, somebody has got to be doing this. So I knew that churches had this problem. I knew that there was a big diversification of use and a lot of availability, but I was pretty sure there were other industries as well, like fitness and all the different gym and combat sports, anybody with a commercial kitchen, charter schools, medical facilities. So we interviewed 1,000 people across the nation in those industries, and 85% of everybody that we spoke to was either already sharing space with somebody or they wanted to, but they were freaked out by Craigslist. This was the first time that we saw that in the same way that co-working spaces and shared desk sites have revolutionized everything for startup teams and freelancers and remote workers, there are thousands of educators and chefs and coaches and personal trainers and physical therapists and pastors that have the exact same need. They just don't need an office, they need a building. And so seeing the demand in the market and not seeing the platform that met those needs, we started SpaceTogether. SpaceTogether is an online platform like the commercial Airbnb, where we take the availability, amenities, and try to find the full functionality that a building really has. And then we market that functionality and availability to the community around them. Our team is made up of developers, managers, marketing experts, industry rainmakers, as well as a custom-built development team that interacts with our technical lead. We also have a tremendous team of advisors that ranges from retired lieutenant colonels, CEOs that have been acquired, CEOs that are scaling, marketing experts, training experts, again, industry rainmakers, IP attorneys. And these folks have not only said, we believe in your company to the place that we would like to support you and give you our expertise, but we'd also like to invest our capital with you and help you to bring this about. IBIS, a statistical analysis group that's been around since the 1940s, says that there are 2.3 million commercial businesses in the US alone. So when we take that number, we don't say that we would like to post each one of them on our platform, because it's not the way that our platform works. We're saying that we'd like to take each one of them, find the individual shareable spaces inside each of those buildings, and make individual postings for each and every one of those individual spaces. But it really doesn't stop there, because inside of each and every shareable piece of the buildings, there are multiple available time slots within those available rentable areas. And so it's not just the building, it's every room in the building and every available time slot and functionality within all of those buildings, which that helps us to calculate our TAM at $13.8 billion. We now have all the market data to show that there are demand in several different industries and have proven that as far as acquisition on our platform. However, right now we are hyper-focused on the church market. So we're hyper-focused on the 380,000 churches that exist in the United States, not because of any other reason than the diversification of use. 35% of these facilities have full gymnasiums, 65% of them have commercial kitchens. They all have fully up-to-code childcare facilities. They all have offices, and they all have at least one auditorium. And that's just to start with. They also have a massive amount of availability. These buildings sit empty in the center of our town. So focus on the center of our communities. So focusing just on the church market, we believe our SAM is $2.2 billion. With just 5% penetration into our target market, we believe that we can produce a market of over $46 million. We partner with large organizations that manage or serve hundreds, if not thousands of facilities. We then train all of their members on how to market their space, how to present it, how to deal with renters. From there, they post the availability of their space to their local community. We then engage that community by acquiring renters that are looking for flexible options to start or sustain their organization. From there, we take care of all the systems such as tour scheduling, bookings, application, verification, payments, and everything that makes the process of sharing space both simple and safe. It turns out that a lot of people did have the same need that we had. We have now properties in over 30 states. We've been able to grow to 2.4 million square feet of functional commercial space across the nation. And users on our platform have received over $95 million of rental applications since we started tracking that in May of 2019 with a 32% acceptance rate. We've signed 4 enterprise clients to date, and we have 2 more in the pipeline for this quarter. Why now? With the adoption of marketplace technology, we share everything. We share our houses, we share our cars, we share our sporting goods, we share our talents. We have to be able to share our buildings. We have to be able to do it. That mixed with the effects of the pandemic, CEOs and people that are starting businesses are not wanting to be locked into these long-term leases anymore. We want to engage in flexible, usable opportunities of sharing space where we all share in the utility and cost of the facility we're using. That matched with our target market showing consistent financial decline for the last 30 years. It is now the time to go acquire these spaces and begin providing their availability to the communities around them. Our enterprise clients pay us in between $15,000 to $25,000 per year, and then everybody in their organization onboards to our platform for $250 per year. We then have a 10% take rate on all bookings that get processed through the platform. We also upsell $65 boosted advertising. We have a training program that takes them through everything we know about sharing space that we sell for $500. We have a 5% revenue share with these large organizations where everything that is generated by their organization on our platform goes back to that parent organization or the enterprise customer. For all of our users that just organically sign up, we have the exact same revenue opportunities with these customers. However, they pay $150 a month rather than a one-time annual fee. Our competition, Craigslist, is a competitor. That's actually one of the main ways that people that are looking to share their space do share their space in their communities because the platform really doesn't meet that need. However, Craigslist is massively sketchy. And as soon as you get onto that, you will find that out very quickly. Our users are typically willing to pay for a better vet of a potential client. Liquid Space, if you just have a bunch of offices, they are probably the best in the game at doing that. So if you have a big commercial building that has a ton of just empty office space, Liquid Space is probably the marketplace to do that. However, they tend to be very homogeneous in supply. Our users, again, are not looking for desks or building with a bunch of desks. They're looking for more fully built out equipped facilities. PeerSpace is actually another way that a lot of people are doing this that are looking for the flexible options that we have. However, PeerSpace is 100% designed around one-time events. So if you're throwing a corporate gathering or a quinceañera or a big time event, they're fantastic. But when users that are looking for the solution that SpaceTogether provides, they're having to find a new location every single time they meet. And they're paying premium price because it's event pricing rather than recurring partnerships. Church Space is an organization based out of Atlanta. They currently have 50 churches that they're working with. They plan to expand. They still have a hyper focus on events. However, they do somewhat segment the same way that we do around all the functionality of the buildings. We're different in that, again, we're really trying to work with partnerships across all industries. It has nothing to do with whatever building type. It has 100% to do with whatever functionality the building actually has. In 2020, we had just I think you guys know, a nationwide pandemic that directly affected our business model. We'd had a pretty significant revenue growth in the first quarter. However, we ended the year making $27,000. In 2021, my entire team left the company and we were still massively feeling the effects of the pandemic. The majority of our users still couldn't even get into their buildings, and we were able to almost double.
Thanks to our founders who presented today, and to everybody who's here in the room with us and online. Just a few program notes while we wrap up. So, and if you're curious about how to become an investor in companies just like we saw today, of course, you can reach out to these guys directly because they've got an offering for you. Make sure they're accredited investors though, guys. Otherwise, you'll get yourselves and them in some trouble. We do operate our own pre-seed fund, FundNV. It's a $10,000 minimum for investors, accredited investors, to come on board with us in that group. It's like a little mutual fund of 20 companies, kind of like the ones you saw today. And we do our annual conference fund, Untitled, which is just getting started right now. We had our first meeting yesterday. So there are 70 startups that applied to a group of going to be probably about 50 or 60 of us. And together as a group, we invest $200,000 of our own money, or maybe a little more than that if we actually have 50 or 60 people. They each put $5,000 into a conference fund, and then we teach people who are new to investing or who just like investing how to go about choosing among companies like the ones we saw today. It'll be a very difficult choice because if we can only pick one out of 70, it's going to be hard. But figuring out which ones those are, who's got the best deal, what are all these crazy terms we talk about, if all this stuff we were asking about valuations and safes and stuff is confusing, join us at Angel NV. You'll get to learn all about that stuff and make an investment too. We have our seed fund, 1864. So if you want to learn more about that, jump on that website, 1864.fund. And out of all of these investors that join all of these groups, we end up forming a syndicate who adds on to our fund investments and also makes separate investments as a group in whatever interesting companies that we find. Most of our investments are in Nevada companies, not all of them, but most of them are. So if you'd like to join the syndicate, again, reach out to us on startupnv.org. And thanks again to you guys for pitching today. Really appreciate your coming out. We're going to be back here again in 2 weeks from today. So please come out and join us either online or here in the room in Las Vegas. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Thanks again for coming out, everybody.